Hi, everyone. Before I start, I just want to say thank you to everyone. It's hard to not get emotional. Sorry, I haven't even started yet and I'm already crying. I just see myself in all of you and I'm just so thankful that you've shared yourself with me. So thank you. Okay, all right. So have you ever had a moment in meditation in which you felt immense fear, like rise up inside of you? I'm sure we've all had those moments. Have you ever had a moment in which you had a thought and you believed that that thought was going to come true? And it's not a good thing that you were thinking. And when you thought those thoughts, did you ever think that somehow a higher power or something gave you a premonition and suddenly you were psychic? It sounds crazy, but people I've talked to, it's actually more common than you may think. So 10 years ago, my mom was rushed to the hospital and she was intubated and she couldn't speak, and it was just a very sudden thing. And there were weeks in which my family didn't know if she was going to live or die. And at that time, my mind was just a mess. I just didn't know what was happening. I was in my mid-20s. I didn't really know anyone who had experienced similar. I couldn't really tell people. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. So my mind was just a mess. And intuitively, I never really meditated, but intuitively I did something that I just felt that I needed. So in between teaching a yoga class, I went into the studio. It was dark, and I just intuitively felt I'm just going to sit down, close my eyes, and just try to clear everything out. And in my mind, I thought that as soon as I did that, peace would just come over me. But in fact, it was the opposite that happened. I just felt this immense feeling and this knowing that I just attached onto, and this loud voice in my head that said, "Your mom is going to die." And a few weeks later, she did. After that, I just clung to that thought that I had received a premonition, and I was just terrified to enter that space again of quiet, of sitting with my thoughts. I couldn't do it. It was almost as if it was traumatic for me to go back there. A year later, I moved to New York, and like every New Yorker, I got a therapist. And I was really lucky because she was not only a therapist, but she was also a very spiritual person. She was a Reiki master. She was very into energy and crystals and all that stuff that I was really into, but I was terrified to get back into because of my experience. And she really encouraged me to find my own spiritual practice, and she encouraged me to meditate. I couldn't do it. I was terrified to sit for even 2 minutes. And I remember literally I had a timer on my phone and I was like, okay, I did 2 minutes, but my mind was still everywhere. However, little by little, I put myself in those situations. I started to go to mindful. I started to do mantra meditation, which kept my mind busy because I was repeating a mantra over and over and over again. And then from there, I started to go into guided meditations on Spotify. And slowly, I started to just settle my mind. And I realized after asking teachers that fear rising up in meditation was very, very common. And I didn't know this before. I started to learn to trust my intuition. I was raised in a way in which I wasn't really taught to trust myself. So I didn't really know the difference between fear and intuition. And I didn't really know, who am I? I realized that there was a difference between fear and intuition. And my mind was attaching onto that fear and believing that it was true. And I realized the difference in how it felt in my body. How did fear feel? Fear felt constricted. It felt like there was no way out. In my body, it felt very tense and tight. And I started to realize that intuition felt expansive. It felt open. It felt loving. It felt grounded. And as I started to practice that in meditation, I began to discern between fear and intuition. And I started to realize that I didn't have to attach onto those thoughts of fear, and that I could learn to trust my intuition. And this I brought out of my cushion as well, because then I started to trust myself more as a person, as a woman, as an adult. My new meditation practice helped me to observe my mind, to practice non-attachment, to not believe in my fears. And it became a place in which I could allow the emotions to arise, allow the fears to arise, sit with it, label it, and then let it go if it didn't serve me. I didn't have to latch on and think that it was something bad that was going to happen to me. When we were workshopping the med talks, Peter was in one of my groups. Is Peter there? Where is he? Oh, hey, Peter. Hey. Oh, yeah, pin him, sure. And he just said something that was like, so it just stuck with me. Actually, two things. He has a lot of wisdom, for those of you that don't know. He said that I had a lot of fear to work through before the wisdom bubbled up to the surface, which I didn't realize because I had never meditated before. So I just clung on to the thought and thought that that was it. And he also said, and this was in one of his Instagram posts, he said that the ego always speaks first, question it. So all of those thoughts, all of those fears, all of those things that were bubbling up, I had to sit with it. I had to allow myself to acknowledge it, to label it. And then from there, the intuition and the gifts started to rise from my meditation practice. Lastly, meditation taught me that, especially now with the 3 jewels, it became a powerful place that I could plant seeds. And I began to realize that I am a creator. I can work through the fear. I can question what comes up, allow myself to feel it. I can plant the seeds that I want and plant the seeds so that I can create more of what I want in my life. So now I am no longer scared. I'm more centered. And I also realized that my definition of psychic kind of changed, because what I most feared, that power to create the future, which I thought was like a scary premonition, I realized that that actually became my superpower, because we all have that within ourselves, right? That superpower to create what we want through our practice. And I think that that was just one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned. Thank you.